third time, despite the fact that he's a twice impeached, four-time criminal indictee and racist who's been found liable.
President Trump just had a meltdown so loud it probably registered on the Richter scale. And no, it wasn't about his hair this time. Chris Rock and Seth Meyers just cracked open the vault of Melania's marriage secrets on Live TV. And let's just say Trump's spray tan might not survive the fallout. What did they reveal? Why is Trump suddenly allergic to comedy? And did Melania actually blink twice for help? Stick around. This is juicier than a Mar-a-Lago buffet. During last night's Oval Office interview, President Trump told ABC News journalist Terry Moran that the sit-down would help his career, and said, quote, "I picked you because, frankly, I never heard of you," which is also what he told J.D. Vance before selecting him as his running mate. The nation was just settling into its regularly scheduled chaos when bam, Trump exploded like a Mentos and Diet Coke. What was the spark this time? A military crisis? A financial collapse? No, it was Chris Rock and Seth Meyers casually body-slamming his marriage into the spotlight like two comedians tag-teaming in the WWE, apparently. All it takes to cause a full-scale Trump eruption these days is a solid punchline about Melania's 1,000-yard stare. The apprentice is running the world. Trump, the daughter, Omarosa, they run the world, man. Rock fired off during his headline-making monologue. Nothing's going to happen to Trump. Here's the crazy thing, it might just work out. Trump might work out Chris Rock in his usual fashion. Threw shade so effortlessly it probably caused a solar eclipse. Seth Meyers followed up with precision sarcasm that could slice through titanium. And Trump's paper-thin pride. The comedy duo cracked a few zingers about Melania looking like she's trapped in a real-life hostage video, and somewhere in Mar-a-Lago, a golf club shattered against a wall. Allegedly. I spoke on the phone yesterday with Amazon founder Jeff Bezos. Meyers quipped during his monologue, but even he doesn't know how to cancel your Prime membership. A clear nod to America's inability to escape the Trump news cycle. Social media did what it does best, turn the whole debacle into a meme-making marathon. TikTok was flooded with clips of Melania's greatest hits, dodging handholds, like she was avoiding lasers in Mission Impossible, her infamous death glare at the inauguration, and that smile that disappears faster than Trump's tax returns. Trump is not playing, man, Rock continued, building up his routine. That's right, this time is totally different. He's working with the #1 African-American in the world. The richest African-American in the world, Elon Musk. That's right, he is African-American. Elon got more kids than the Cleveland Browns. Trump naturally lost it. He took to his safe space, a glorified blog site with all the visual appeal of expired mayonnaise, and pounded out a rage post that read like a toddler dictating a manifesto. All caps, half spelled. Full meltdown. It was the kind of rant that makes you wonder if his Wi-Fi router runs on raw ego and cheeseburgers, you know? I don't make a habit of complimenting Donald Trump, Meyers said with his trademark deadpan delivery, but today I have to give him credit. He actually followed through on a major campaign promise. Bravo, Donald, for keeping your word. Now, let's see what that promise was. I hope it was fixing the water pressure in our toilets. And here's the kicker: while the world was transfixed by his flaming reaction to a couple of jokes, something far more insidious was unfolding right under the radar. Because when Trump erupts over late-night comedy, it usually means he's trying to bury something way more disastrous, like, say, the economy flatlining faster than his approval rating at a science convention. It's not the first time. Remember when Alec Baldwin's impression on SNL sent Trump into a days-long Twitter spiral? That same week, unemployment claims hit a record high. Coincidence? Not likely. Trump treats comedy like it's a foreign attack, and foreign attacks like they're fake news. And while he's busy counting the number of times Seth Meyers has smirked at him, America is quietly sliding into an economic sinkhole. Because let's be honest, the Trump economy is a bit like a three-legged race run by drunk raccoons. He promised the best economy ever, but forgot to mention that he meant for hedge fund managers and Mar-a-Lago donors. For the rest of the country, it's been a non-stop carousel of layoffs, wage stagnation, and inflation so intense it makes avocados feel like luxury goods. You know, a lot of people say this too. If you're the smartest and the brightest, you won't need affirmative action. Rock joked in another segment that seemed to strike a nerve with the administration. They say that as if the whole country is run by the smartest and the brightest. Now, I was in black schools and white schools, so you can't tell me otherwise. And just when you think the chaos couldn't get any more theatrical, in waltzes Seth Meyers, with the comedic precision of a brain surgeon holding a flamethrower, while Trump's out here governing with crayons and conspiracy theories. Seth casually dismantles both his political delusions and his marriage like he's hosting an HGTV show called Demolition. Deranged. Politically, Meyers tears into Trump's policies the way a raccoon tears through trash. Enthusiastic, relentless, and disturbingly accurate. he's not just pointing out hypocrisy. He's practically giving a guided tour with popcorn. Every flip-flop, every tantrum, every toddler-level policy pivot set's got the receipts, the punchlines, and a deadpan expression that says, this man was once in charge of nuclear codes. And then he swerves into the Melania files like a comic sniper. No mercy. While Trump screams fake news, Seth's out here reading between the marriage lines with jokes that sting harder than a prenup clause. He's turned their public interactions into a masterclass in awkward body language and political symbolism. It's not just comedy, it's public service. 1, 2, and 3 have been the lowest digits. Meyers deadpanned in a parody of Trump's number obsession. Today that changes, the high numbers have behaved very badly, oftentimes, even savagely. Let's not forget that horrible day when 789. Because while Trump tweets rage and denial, Meyers calmly roasts him into oblivion. One punchline at a time, he's exposing the man behind the MAGA mask and the very reluctant woman standing next to him. And just when you thought the circus couldn't pack in any more clowns, enter Maganomics Trump's masterclass in how to run the world's largest economy like a backyard lemonade stand run by raccoons. This was the guy who strutted out like a WWE villain, snarling about giving us the best economy ever. A phrase that, in hindsight, should have triggered every red flag imaginable. Because what we actually got was a glitzy brochure promising beachfront paradise, only to check in and realize the ocean view is just a painting, and the only water is leaking from the ceiling. Let's unpack the actual legacy of Trumponomics, shall we? First, corporate tax cuts, because clearly what America needed most was for billionaires to afford a second yacht with a golden golf simulator. The 2017 tax overhaul was pitched as a gift to the middle class. Instead, it became a high-speed funnel straight into the Cayman Islands. Wealth didn't trickle down, it cannonballed upward while workers got pink slips, free pizza on Fridays, and motivational posters about resilience. And because math is apparently a socialist conspiracy, Trump managed to launch the national debt past $36 trillion. That's trillion with a T, as in T is for try not to cry while looking at your kid's future. But don't worry, folks, Trump reassured his cult supporters that debt doesn't matter if you just close your eyes and scream fake news loud enough. Meanwhile, America slipped into a silent recession. Because why have a loud, obvious economic collapse when you can just mute the suffering and turn up the volume on whatever Melania's up to in Slovenia? Credit card debt at record highs, and not because Americans are living large, but because groceries now cost the same as a used Kia. People aren't shopping for luxury, they're just trying to survive the cereal aisle without applying for a second mortgage. GDP growth slower than Trump finishing a sentence without wandering off topic. And don't even ask about wage growth unless you want to spiral into an existential crisis with your barista who now charges extra for oat milk and emotional support. But sure, let's focus on the real threat to America. Late-night comedians making fun of Trump's marriage. Because nothing screams economic confidence like a leader throwing a Twitter tantrum over a Seth Meyers monologue while Wall Street quietly smokes behind a dumpster, whispering, "We're so screwed." Trump held a rally and sat down for an interview to mark his first 100 days in office. Meyers mocked in a segment that reportedly sent White House staffers scrambling for damage control. And you know what? He changed my mind. Before the interview, I thought the first 100 days had been really bad, but after the interview, I thought, oh, I see the plan. The next 100 days are going to make the first 100 days look amazing. Trump's economic vision was a game of Jenga played by someone blindfolded, drunk, and wearing oven mittens. And now, every time the tower wobbles, his solution is to yell at the blocks and blame immigrants, Democrats, windmills, or possibly low-flow toilets. And just when the entire thing starts to collapse, he's already tweeting about how it was the greatest tower in history and that Obama actually knocked it over 5 years ago. Want me to keep going into how this economic Jenga tower hits housing, healthcare, or student loans next? And speaking of collapsing towers, let's talk about the man behind the economic Jenga set. Because Trump's decision-making process has all the precision of a magic 8-ball duct taped to a carnival mirror. Consistency, please. The man flip-flops more than a beach resort in hurricane season. One minute he's yelling about bringing manufacturing back, and the next he's outsourcing MAGA hats to a factory in Bangladesh. His policies don't follow a plan. They follow a mood swing. And while the economy teeters and working Americans scream into the void of grocery store inflation, Trump's true priority remains clear, crafting the perfect caps lock tweet at 2 a.m. to dunk on a late-night comedian who called him orange. "I don't want to be a war hero that got captured," Rock joked, referencing Trump's infamous comments about Senator John McCain. "I don't want to vote for nobody that got captured. I want to vote for somebody that got away." He's the only world leader who cancels briefings because he's too emotionally drained. from being mocked by Chris Rock. This isn't governance, it's a live-action reality show where the prize is global instability, and the judges are all imaginary. But hey, at least it's entertaining, like watching a toddler pilot a spaceship. You're terrified, but you can't look away. Of course. Trump's response to this economic mess was the usual wizardry: slap a few tariffs on China, print some money, and pretend it's all part of a 4D chess plan. Never mind that the tariffs boomerang harder than a boomerang made of rubber bands. Small businesses got steamrolled, farmers got crushed, and the trade deficit ballooned like Trump's claims about crowd sizes. Meanwhile, Trump spends more time obsessing over Melania's public expressions or lack thereof than attending economic briefings. While economists wave red flags like they're directing traffic on a runway, Trump's trying to decode whether Melania's smile at the Veterans Day ceremony was genuine or court-ordered. When Donald Trump first took office, I was pumped because I was promised a new golden age of America, Seth Meyers quipped during a recent monologue that reportedly circulated through White House staff inboxes with subject lines like "damage control needed." The golden age of America begins with bankruptcy. And speaking of Melania, where exactly is the First Lady these days? Last seen blinking in Morse code during a Christmas tree unveiling, Melania has become the most elusive figure in American politics. She pops up for 10 seconds, gives a photo op smile that screams, "I'd rather be power washing the driveway," and vanishes back into whatever crystal-encrusted panic room she calls home. Insiders whisper that she negotiated a deal worthy of a Marvel villain stay in the spotlight just long enough to avoid scandal. And she gets a private wing at Mar-a-Lago, 3 new Birkin bags, and a lifetime supply of visibly forced smiles. Sources, totally not Secret Service agents disguised as gardeners, claim she's perfected the art of the slow walk away during awkward press events. But let's not lose focus. Trump's cartoonish meltdown over comedy is more than just petty, it's strategic. It's a distraction grenade lobbed into the center of national discourse. While we're busy analyzing whether Melania's smirk meant freedom or fury, Trump's making moves behind the curtain that would make a Bond villain blush. Take the latest budget proposal: less money for public health, more money for, wait for it, military parades and golf course tax breaks. Are you worried about your husband's safety in the next few weeks? A reporter recently asked Melania, to which she gave her typical cryptic response, "Of course I do. Yes, I do." I think when they call him a threat to democracy, let's ask ourselves, who is really the threat to democracy? They're ongoing with the lawfare again, because nothing says fiscal responsibility like jet flyovers and bronze statues of yourself teeing off in the middle of Kansas. The country's drowning in debt, but Trump thinks the solution is a golden escalator in every federal building. And then there's the infrastructure. Remember Infrastructure Week? It's become such a recurring joke that even Garfield memes are mocking it. Roads are crumbling, bridges are collapsing, and meanwhile, Trump's tweeting out blurry photos of Melania gardening like that's going to patch the potholes. Back to the comedy crisis. Trump's team tried damage control, but it went about as well as a spelling bee at a monster truck rally. J.D. Vance stumbled through an interview confusing Chris Rock with The Rock, and somehow turned it into a monologue about masculinity and patriotism, neither of which he's particularly familiar with. Caroline Levitt tried to spin it as a coordinated leftist attack, quoting scripture next to a filtered Mar-a-Lago photo, like she was curating a Christian travel blog. It's honestly impressive how much effort Trump world puts into avoiding actual governance. If they spent half as much time crafting policy as they do responding to comedians, the country might have a working healthcare system instead of whatever broken vending machine they've got now. Everybody's worried. Rock observed in his special that seems to have particularly gotten under Trump's skin. I mean, we got Luigi, and that's good. I really feel sorry for the family. I mean, everybody's fixated on how good looking this guy looks. If he looked like Jonah Hill, no one would care. They'd already given him the chair already. But here's the part that really matters. This isn't just about Trump being thin-skinned or Melania being Mia. It's about what this circus says about leadership or lack thereof. When a president treats comedy like a national threat and real crises like open mic night, it's no wonder the country feels like it's being run by a sentient meme. Meanwhile, world leaders are watching this mess unfold like it's reality TV. Canada's Prime Minister joked in a private setting that at least his wife doesn't look like she's trying to chew through her own seatbelt. European officials are reportedly placing bets on how many more comedians Trump will try to sue before he remembers. There's a war going on somewhere. And let's not forget the American people. While Trump fumbles through another PR disaster, regular folks are dealing with real issues: rising grocery prices, rent spikes, shrinking paychecks, and jobs that vanish faster than Trump at a climate summit. But sure, let's all focus on weather. Melania blinked twice or 3 times at the Easter egg roll. If there's one thing Trump has mastered, it's the art of deflection. He's the human embodiment of a magician yelling, look over there, while quietly pocketing your wallet, only instead of a wallet, it's your health care, your retirement, and your ability to afford eggs without taking out a second mortgage. I want to also thank my beautiful wife Melania, First Lady, who has the #1 best-selling book in the country, Trump announced at a recent event, while staffers reportedly scrambled to figure out which book he was referring to. Can you believe it? And the best part, he plays the victim through it all. Every comedian is mean. Every late-night joke is a deep state conspiracy. And every frown from Melania is just the result of bad lighting. Never mind that her eyes have been sending Morse code messages to Slovenia since 2017. So what now? Will Trump start banning comedians from airspace? Launch an executive order declaring sarcasm a national threat? Honestly, nothing's off the table. At this point, we live in a timeline where satire is just journalism wearing a clown nose. But if Trump thinks roasting from Chris Rock and Seth Meyers is brutal, he might want to avoid the economic forecasts, because in the Trump era, that's the only thing that still makes sense. So next time you see Trump foaming at the mouth over a late-night joke, just remember it's not about Melania, it's not about Chris Rock, it's about covering up the fact that the emperor has no clothes, no clue, and definitely no sense of humor. We need to talk about how we got here, a place where the President of the United States is more concerned with comedy routines than with the actual state of the nation. When did America decide that thin skin was a leadership quality? When did we collectively agree that a president throwing tantrums over punchlines was normal behavior? And more importantly, when did we start treating satire as more dangerous than incompetence? Trump didn't invent presidential fragility, but he certainly perfected it. Previous presidents took jabs from comedians with at least a veneer of good humor. Reagan laughed, Bush Sr. shrugged, Clinton played the saxophone, Bush Jr. made fun of himself, Obama roasted back. But Trump thinks comedy is treason and jokes are weapons of mass destruction. The irony, of course, is that Trump himself rose to power partly through his own brand of insult comedy. He mocked his way through the Republican primaries, nicknaming opponents like a schoolyard bully with a thesaurus, low-energy Jeb, Little Marco, Lion Ted. These weren't policy positions, they were punchlines. Trump understood the power of humor as a weapon, but seems incapable of understanding it as a mirror. And that's the thing about comedy that Trump can't grasp. Good comedy holds up a mirror to power. It doesn't punch down, it punches up. When Chris Rock and Seth Meyers take aim at Trump, they're not just making fun of his hair or his marriage. They're exposing the absurdity of the system that elevated him in the first place. They're highlighting the contradiction between Trump's promises and Trump's reality. Which brings us back to that reality and economy that's working spectacularly well for the top 1% and disastrously for everyone else, while Trump was busy complaining about comedy sketches. The wealth gap widened to levels not seen since the Gilded Age. The middle class continued its slow-motion collapse, and the American dream became increasingly unobtainable for average citizens. Corporate profits soared under Trump's watch, but so did homelessness. The stock market hit record highs, while food bank lines stretched around city blocks. Billionaires built spaceships while essential workers couldn't afford rent. This is the economic legacy